What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody is doing well. It's about day 38 in quarantine here, at least I am. I can't get a haircut, but I could build a PC, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. Our target for this PC is $500, but with extras that I will be including, it's going to be around $650. But once again, the core components, you could get them for about 500 bucks, 500 or so, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on any deals you find or where you purchase the items. So once again, we're going to be building a PC. Let's go over the products real quick. So first of all, the processor, we have an Intel Core i3-9100F. It's a standard CPU. They're actually getting really good, and the F part means there's no integrated graphics, but we do have a GeForce GTX 1660. It's one of the new ones. We're going to be pairing that with the processor, and it's going to go inside the MSI H310M Pro M2 Plus motherboard. I can't memorize that. It's a really long name, but that's our motherboard. And we have 8 gigs of DDR4 Patriot memory at 2666 megahertz. Should be good enough for some gaming with the CPU and motherboard. We have a 430 watt power supply, which should be more than enough for a system like this. A 120 gig SSD for our Windows boot and loading and all that stuff. It's gonna be pretty quick. And a 1 terabyte standard storage hard drive. And our case, you guys will see it in the video. I couldn't really get any shots of it, but you'll see it. It's from Dark Flash. It's a micro ATX case. Really good looking, reminds me of the NZXT S340 Elite. Sorry if I'm off to the side here. I have a really weird setup going on. Okay, so those are the components you could get for around $500. And now the extras I will be including are these 5 RGB fans from Up Here. I've used some fans of these in the past. I'm guessing these are a newer model. Those are pretty good and vibrant, colorful. These are going to be better, I think. There's 5 of them, so we're going to fill up all the slots this case could hold. We have a really cool keyboard. It's new. It's from Redragon. It's the Redragon Draconic. It's white, very colorful. It's wireless or wired, depending on how you want to use it. I've really been enjoying it these past few days that I've been using it. Really good, and I think it's going to match really well with this case, with this computer in general. Super good. And then a cooler we have is from Gamdius. It's a Gamdius Xion E1A or EA1. It's a 120mm radiator, liquid cooled. Super good. It comes with its own fan, RGB. You guys will see it in a little bit. And just to give a quick shout out to myself, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. DM me, comment on my last post, and I will give you a shout out in my next video. Just supporting my Instagram because it's been a little dry, to be honest. Okay, with that said, we're going to get on with the building process, and then after that we're going to look at the computer. We're going to play some games, GTA, Far Cry, Ghost Recon, whatever you name it. We're going to be playing some games, see how it performs, and it should be a good video. Make sure to leave a like, a comment down below, and consider subscribing. Alright, let's get to the building part. So I recorded the first part of this video, the whole introduction, the building process, all that stuff. I recorded that about a month ago, maybe a little bit less, but we still haven't been able to get a haircut. It's now day like 60 or something of quarantine, but we have a PC, we have the second part of the video here, although it's still in the same one. But now we have the computer built up, all set up, ready to go play some games, and I have to say I'm very impressed with it. Now just looking at it, the case is beautiful. It reminds me of the NZXT S340 Elite, you know, with that white front and then the whole side panel. The power supply shroud, it's actually very good looking. The little pattern in the front, it's unique. I've never seen it on a case before. It kind of looks like crumbled paper, but it looks really good. It fits in well, and if you shine a light at it, the little effects it makes with the shadow looks really good. All the components fit inside the case perfectly. The motherboard, the fans, the cooler, everything felt right into place. I had no issues with that. And the fans and the cooler fan, they're different brands. They have two different remotes, and you just have to make sure they don't really interfere with each other. You have to point them in different directions, because although blue may be the color for the case fans, it may change it to red on the Gamdia's fan. They don't like each other because there's different brands, different remotes, but you'll figure it out. The cable management was actually really easy to do. I didn't have too much time to deal with it, but with the time that I did have, I have to say, I am quite pleased with it. And there's plenty of room to hide the cables. Now, performance. I did install a standard hard drive, 1 terabyte for the storage, storing games, files, data, all that stuff. And I installed a 120 gig SSD to install the operating system. So when you boot the computer, it loads up really fast. In a few seconds, you're up and running. It's been about 3 weeks since I built it, since the first half of the video. So I did install a bunch of games, test them, ran them, see how they performed, and I'm actually very pleased, like I said. Here we have Grand Theft Auto 5. It's 7 years old, but it's actually still quite tough to run. However, on this computer, full HD, ultra settings, for the most part, there are some settings that were tweaked a bit. It runs at over 60 frames per second the entire time. Now when you get to a patch of grass, the mountains and stuff, it could get a little rough because the grass in that game kills graphics card performance. It's really hard to run. Even on my main computer, with a GTX 1070, the grass makes it go down to the 40s in FPS. But this computer handled it really well. Over 60 everywhere. When you get to the grass, it does go to 50s, 40s, typical Grand Theft Auto stuff. So Grand Theft Auto A+, it crushed it. Battlefield 1, another game Battlefield 1 is very well optimized. So this computer should be able to run it with no problem. And it does. Full HD, ultra settings, you get over 60 frames per second easily. No problem. Well, it runs in like 65, 70 around there, but it's constant. It doesn't dip down. It stays above 60. It's really smooth and it looks great. Should I even have CSGO in this? CSGO is just one of those games that it'll run on a toaster. It's an old game, easy to run. This computer shouldn't have any issues with it. If CSGO goes below 10 frames per second in the video, I'll give this computer away to one of you guys who comment down below. I don't think it's gonna happen. Fortnite was another game that did really well. It's actually one of my favorite looking games, but I don't like the gameplay. The building, all that stuff, it really just turned me away. I don't want to play Fortnite because of the building, but it looks really good, the graphics, colors and everything. This computer runs it really well as well. Now Far Cry 3, 4, and 5. Far Cry 3 and 4, 1080p, full HD, ultra settings, perfectly fine. Does not have any issues with it. And the computer's cooling does really well as well. I made a separate video about the cooler itself, and with the games that I tested, it didn't go above 56 degrees Celsius. The main temperatures were 53, 54, 55, and 56. That little range, that's where it stood, and it's actually very impressive. I would expect games on a computer to run maybe 60 degrees, 65. In some cases, like on my big computer with the Core i7 7700K, it goes maybe even to 75, which is a little bit scary. But this computer's cooling is really good. Far Cry 5 was probably the toughest game of the bunch to play. I believe it's the newest one that I have, and it still ran it well at full HD, medium settings, high settings, and even ultra in some cases, but it did go below 60 frames per second. So with Far Cry 5, you might want to tweak the settings a little bit, but you should still have no problem running it. It's still a very enjoyable experience, and it's arguably better than the standard PS4 and Xbox One's graphics. So what do I think of this build? I think it looks great. So the main components, the motherboard, the RAM, the processor, the case, those all fell in the $500 category. So I titled this video $500 gaming PC because of those components, the essential ones. Now items like the fans and the cooler, those are extras. You don't need them for this build, and those are actually the things that make it go over $500. Now if you could live without fans and use the stock Intel cooler for a few days or whatever, maybe until you get some more allowance and buy some new items, you should be perfectly fine. Upgraded over time, that's the beauty about having a PC. So for the core components, this computer is really good. I would recommend building it. Now I'm one of those persons that say, an i3 processor, I see it and I'm like, But the new ones are actually really good. They have great gaming performance as you saw, and they could really do it all. It's not like you have to go for an i5 anymore. If you're on a budget, go with an i3 or Ryzen 3 processor, and you could have very good performance, even better than consoles in some cases. So yes, this computer is definitely one that you should build if you have the money. Now, of course, it's not the best combination of components. There are plenty, I mean, virtually an infinite amount of motherboards, processors. I mean, processors not really, but motherboards, RAM, any combination, there's virtually, you know, an infinite amount. And you could build a better computer for the same price, if not the same. Tell me in the comment section below, what do you think would be better for this computer? Maybe a better processor? What would you do? Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Join my Discord server, I just made it. At the moment there's nobody in there, but I'm sure that'll change soon. Thank you guys for watching, I'll see you in the next video.